course, I mean, there is only one project, and it is the Finest Bay Area Development Tunnel project. I think that the Finnish government has made that very clear all along the process, that there is no public project. So that's created a lot of confusion. And also the Estonian government, there was the previous government, the Ratas government, also created a lot of confusion by saying that they are going to work with the Finnish government, but the Finnish government didn't know about that. So it's been a lot of miscommunication all along, and I think that it's very important that we have an open and transparent discussion about the project. I mean, between both governments, we are in constant interaction with the ministers in Estonia. We have done that, during three governments: the Ratas first government, second government, and now with the Kaja Kallas government. And of course, we're super happy to see that the tunnel project is part of the government program in Estonia. And again, I think it's very clear that, of course, we will work very closely with the government. And we have introduced our partners, our investors to both Ratas governments. We haven't now, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to have a face-to-face meeting to introduce the teams on both sides to Kaja Kallas government. But of course, we plan to do that as well. We also have the same ministers, Taavi Aas and Jaak Aab, who are the ministers in charge on the Estonian side, and then Timo Harakka here in Finland in the Sanna Marin government. So again, from our perspective, it's great that we, after 21 months, managed to get this agreement signed between the governments, because that is also very important for unlocking the funding for the tunnel project. So I think that is great news for us, and we look forward to close collaboration with both governments and also kind of like the local governments, so the cities on both sides of the Finest Bay. So that's again, we think very good news that we are moving forward. But we really hope that we can also have open dialogue, and I think it's great that things are now moving forward. So of course we are super excited to see this.
How do you comment the situation that when I talk with Taavi Aas, when he says that states are doing research and finding the financing and planning, and there will be not second tunnel by private investors.
I think that then it's probably a good idea to ask the Finnish government. I actually think that if you look at all the way back to 2018, when we had the celebration, Finland turned 100 in 2017 and Estonia in 18, and we had the first joint session of both governments ever in Tallinn. And then we had the Sipilä and Ratas government, and both prime ministers made a very similar statement as we have the situation today, that there is no funding available from the Finnish government, no funding available from the Estonian government. And the EU had also made very clear that the Tallinn tunnel is not very high on the priority list when you look at, from 10T perspective and all of that. And then both prime ministers said that it's a very important project, and it's great if we can move forward with the project as a private project. And I think that, again, the most important thing should be to get the Tallinn tunnel built. And I think that it's kind of like then a detail on how the exact, structure will be. But this is, again, for us, it's very clear how to make the tunnel happen. And we can make it happen by the 24th of December 2024, as we have said all along. And we think that it's very good that the Rail Baltica project is now moving forward. We will be able to use the same equipment in the tunnel as on Rail Baltica. So we are also looking forward to open, competition on the rails as the EU has, regulated. And we have a very good collaboration, for example, with the EU, and EU Commission on Innovation, Education and Youth. So Finland and Estonia, we're working very closely together on moving this Finest Bay Area startup ecosystem forward and using that as a role model for whole Europe, whole EU. And I think this is something that maybe hasn't been very well understood, that the reason for building the tunnel is not to, build a tunnel, but it's to increase the growth, increase the opportunities, create the highest talent density anywhere in the world. And I mean, if you look at Estonia as an example, Estonia is leading the world in the number of unicorn companies per capita. Estonia has very ambitious plan for the Finest Bay Area. And again, here in Finland, we have been pretty successful, especially in games where we already have the highest talent density of developers and games companies. So it's very important to understand that this is not about the tunnel. This is about building the Finest Bay Area, making this the most attractive place anywhere in the world to create business, create your startup. And again, this is what this is all about. So we shouldn't get stuck on how will we make the tunnel happen. The key thing here is that we know how to make it happen. And I think that that is kind of like the most important thing. And I think it should be obvious for everybody that, of course, it requires a very strong, very tight collaboration between the private sector and the public sector. And I don't think that there is kind of like any conflict there. And it's very important to look at what we want to achieve, and then how exactly we will achieve that is actually not super important. And I think that if we ask anybody in Finland or Estonia if they are in favor of the tunnel, I think that we have a big majority of the people who want to see this come to fruition. And we have seen now in the pandemic how important the connectivity between Finland and Estonia is, for both countries. And this is something that we shouldn't kind of like lose track of, and we should kind of like not let ideological, challenges get in the way. I think that is a really bad idea. And we have been very, very open, very, very transparent in everything we do. And we have also asked the governments to do the same. I think it's very important that we have open dialogue, open discussion, and also that we keep in mind that the tunnel is only a detail in the bigger Finest Bay Area plan, and the Finest Bay Area ecosystem is very, very aligned with what the EU wants to achieve. And we have had excellent dialogue with, for example, Commissioner Maria Gabriel in the Commission, and she's in charge of innovation, education and youth. And of course, that is the future. And we want to build, the finest future here by working very closely together between Finland and Estonia. So I think that is kind of like the big prize here.
How do you comment ministers fear that if something goes wrong with your project, bankruptcy? When state has to take risks and all the problems.
Okay, so we have clarified this many times. We have had meetings with Jüri Ratas, the first government, the second government, Kadri Simpson, that was the Minister of Infrastructure back then. So again, we have made it very clear, how this works. First of all, that the majority ownership and the control remains here in the Finest Bay Area at all steps of the project and also operation. And then if we look at, the risks, okay, let's say that this would go bankrupt or something like that. I mean, again, there are many ways to mitigate that risk. And, always in this discussion, what I would call like this China card comes up. And I think that we should also then think about, the current situation. We don't have a tunnel. Okay, then if we fast forward and we have a tunnel, and for some reason, let's say that there are some problems and we have to close the tunnel. So it's kind of like, what is the worst thing that could happen? That we don't have a tunnel, and, is it like that somebody will come and take the tunnel away? I mean, it's a massive investment in infrastructure, and it's permanent. It will be there for like the next hundreds of years. So I think that we should also have an open and honest dialogue about this. And this is what we have had with the governments, and we think that again, it's very easy to come up with reasons for why not to do things. But being an entrepreneur, we are looking at how to do things and how to make things possible. And I think that it's very, very important that we have that kind of entrepreneurial approach also in our governments, that, of course, we need to look at risks and what could happen. That is very, very important. But we are working with very professional partners, AFRI, AINS, CREC, and so on. They are the best on the planet when it comes to building this kind of infrastructure. And as I said, the tunnel is just a small detail in this bigger Finest Bay Area development. So it's also important to ask ourselves what kind of future environment we want to have here in Finland, in Estonia. And also this is a role model for the EU. I think that this is also very important to keep in mind, that there are big expectations from the rest of EU towards the Finest Bay Area. We have been very, very successful here. I mean, not only in Finland and Estonia, but also, Sweden. So we are number one when it comes to this kind of, let's say, value creation, true entrepreneurship in our part of the world. And still on this, if you look at then funding for the project, it's very important that majority ownership control remains here in the Finest Bay Area. So this is not, a Chinese or American or Russian or a project like that. This is a project done by Finland and Estonia. So I think this, again, we should have an open dialogue and look at how we make this happen and not come up with excuses for not doing things.
Okay, good point. Finally, shortly, how
Yes.
ticket sales are doing?
I mean, we haven't been actively marketing the tickets, but we're selling, a few tickets every week. But I think the most important thing here, actually, that's a very good point. So we have, the ticket sales since a while. And if you look at that, I think it's very important to compare to the Malmö-Copenhagen, the Öresund Bridge. What happened when the bridge was opened? More than 20,000 people moved from Denmark to Sweden to Skåne because it's slightly less inexpensive to live there. And then unemployment in Skåne was completely wiped out because there were many job opportunities on the Copenhagen side. And if you look at then our predictions, and these were actually done by Taloustutkimus, the biggest research company here in Finland, and our expectation, if you look at the situation now, we have about 50,000 Estonians living on the Finnish side. We have less than 5,000 Finns living in Estonia. Once we open the tunnel, we expect tens of thousands of people currently living in Finland to move to Tallinn, and we expect everybody in Tallinn to get a great job on the Helsinki side. So we will have a big dynamic effect to the economies on both sides. And we shouldn't forget that during the tunnel construction, we're looking at 30,000 jobs, 24,000 in Finland, 6,000 on the Estonian side. So it's a massive boost for employment. And we all know that, we've been hit by the pandemic. So it's more important than ever to really look at how we can, keep our economies growing also beyond kind of like the boost that we can expect now post-pandemic. So again, reason for building the tunnel, it's not just to reduce the travel time to 20 minutes, but it's to grow the economies on both sides and grow this whole Finest Bay Area. And we have very good examples from the Malmö-Copenhagen area. So we want to do the same here, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity for all of us.
Thank you very much, and let's continue practical questions in Twitter.
Hey, thank you. Let's do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.